right, so hopefully my audio is cool. So let me double check my audio. Test. All right, that's cool. So I'm going to talk about today service called EMR. And you don't have to understand everything that's happening with EMR. You can just understand that there's a service called EMR. So I'll try and keep it that way. The service called EMR, and it stands for Elastic Map Reduce. Now, it's technology that I've heard about for like the past maybe 10, more than that, maybe 10, 12 years. Probably the first time I ever heard of it. And it's used to solve a certain type of problem. The type of problem that it's used to solve, you need something called a cluster. And so I'm just going to show how to set it up. We don't have to go through all the details of how it works, but it'll be just interesting to go through the through the examples. Make sure I put my code is. All right. So let's go to the right directory, and we're going to run one of the examples and see what happens. A couple of things. I'm going to, see, dock these two. All right. So as usual, we've been going through the examples, and these are great examples. Again, on github.com. Here's the URL. The beautiful thing about it is that the code is done largely, but not exclusively, by people who actually work for AWS. And so you can get access to the code to use as an example. You don't have to start from scratch. This stuff is very complicated. And sometimes you just don't want to spend all that time and energy starting from zero. You actually want to get to work. And so it helps a lot to have examples that are already pre-existing that you can use in your work or just in your experimenting. And so that's what I'm going to try out here. So I'm interested in this example. And as always, so I think I've done this pretty much in every single example. And what it means is I'm just making sure that the dependencies, right? The dependencies, I'm doing this in Python, but if we wanted to, we can do it in other things as well. They don't, it's interesting, they don't put as much emphasis on PowerShell. That's very interesting to me. But I think let me check something real quick. I think they put that under .NET. Probably what they do. Yeah, they put a lot of that stuff on the .NET, which makes a lot of sense because if they do it on the .NET, what they can do from there is they can do PowerShell from there. So they can do the .NET stuff, they can do PowerShell. And check something real quick. It's pretty. I just picked one of these. Yeah, so right. So I take that back. They do a lot of not PowerShell explicitly, but they do a lot of .NET. Yeah, and C#, and you can translate C# pretty easily, most at 99% of the time into PowerShell. Let me do this. I might have changed some stuff, but let's see if it lets me make a change here. All right, cool. Cool. I can keep stuff up to date. All right. All right, excellent. All right, so I'm up to date on this one. All right, cool. That's what I wanted to see, get up to date. So what I just did there, I ran this command called git pull. right? Like you talk about GitHub, and I'm using one called git pull. And what git pull does is it just gives me the changes. So I have the changes. All right. All right. So let me go back to the example I want to run in Python. So a couple of things, a couple of points I made there. One, it doesn't have the examples are in Python for the most part that we're doing, and but the counterpart to Python, not exactly the competitor, but the counterpart on if you're just doing Windows is PowerShell. In terms like you're able to do stuff pretty rapidly without doing a compilation um, cycle. And so, what do you want to do in that case? So, what you want to do in that case is you want to look at the .NET example and take the .NET example and convert that to PowerShell. So that's the point I'm making behind that. You know, you can use .NET and pretty much any way that you use .NET, you can do other languages like C# and any way that you see .NET, you can do PowerShell. So that's really the whole point of that. But we're going to do this in Python. I'm going to go to this EMR. Try it again. So it's under example code EMR, right? And then I want to run this here. Let's see if I have all the requirements that I need. So it says everything's already satisfied, so which means that I have downloaded everything that I already needed and should not need anything else. Right. So that's that. So now let's switch off a little. I just wanted to run. So they're using Apache Spark. So let's see. Look at the README. So that's the only one I had to run. So let's do this. And as before, everything has a cost to it. Run this here. Whoops. Whoops, I the wrong one. So I don't want to do that. I want to run. Oh, let's see if I can run this one. So I should see a basic example. It's missing. 404 means something's missing, but I see this. So the documentation might be out of whack. I want to use a short-lived. So create a short-lived. All right. So it found. All right. So let's complain about the location constraint. So I might have to. All right, let's see what the issue is. All right, so this is what happens in real life too. There's an error. So let me check something real quick. Location constraint is not valid. I think this might be why. Well, let's check this out. Run this again. Let's see. Found it. All right. You have to be, I'm not sure why, but look this up. So my default, uh, the reason why I didn't work at first is that my default location was I thought it was supposed to be in Virginia, but it was in Ohio. So I suspected there aren't that many. If we look at the location in on AWS, there aren't that many American locations. So it's Virginia, Ohio, California, Oregon. Get the West heavy, and then you have this Northern Virginia, Ohio. All right, so then you have a lot of stuff in the middle. So let me go hit this and hit refresh. I should start seeing some stuff come. Oh, whoops. We go here. That was a problem. I was in the wrong region. So, all right. So now that creates my cluster. So March 9th at 10:47. And just did that. So it's starting. It might take a few minutes to start. So create a security group. Yeah, I said it was short-lived. So let's take a look and see how long it's short-lived. I could make it long-lived. That got deleted manually. So we might do that afterwards. But I just want to show just how we're running these commands. Cluster. So this is used for map reduce. That's what the MR stands for in EMR. The E stands for elastic. And this is starting. Priority thing. Yes, so what we can do is only one event happening right now. But we can look at some of the other details. So S3, so the logs are going to be stored in S3. That's what it created. So if I go to S3, S3, I see a bucket here, and all right, so there's some script, there's some code that's being put in S3. What else can we look at here? So no bootstrap instances. So I have 2 instances. Destroy this. All right, so create the primary. Oh, all right. Let me do this. This is taking a while. It's asking for a verification. We're going to do that in another window. So this isn't on camera. So let's see what's going on here. So it's asking for a verification to create additional resources. And that's interesting only in the sense that typically, try this again. So far it's 0 and 0. So it might take a while for this to run. All right, so that might take, I'm gonna have to come back to it. Yeah, I might have to come back to this one if it's taking a while to run. This it should have been a short-lived cluster. Short-lived meaning that less than like an hour, something like that. Definitely less than an hour. So I'm going to come back to this and let this keep running. Lived instances, that's what I wanted. Try that one more time. Missing something. There's nothing. Okay. All right. So that one's starting. Okay. So that one's moving. So I'm gonna let that go for a bit and then come back to it. So we try another example. This one's gonna run for a while. So, but the point of what I'm saying is that there's a set of steps that are gonna happen when this code runs. So we want basic ones are we want to run a job and then we want it to terminate. So we want to start and then we want to finish. And this is just another example of just using the this might be another good example. Let's see here that this one is set to, they wrote a lot of code. So this is like really good to see. So this is what you get. This is the kind of code that you get when someone's able to focus on one thing for a while. But you can also look at these as well. You notice that some of these have test folders. So in addition to being able to run the code, you can actually test it out. So that's running. Go back here. This one is, this is actually it's not a small one. So this is going to be about 19 cents an hour. All right, so you see the cost here. And then you take a look and see where it is. So it's running, but it's probably still adding some more resources. So now let's see what else. So this is the instance steps. Okay, so what it's going to do is going to run a estimate of pi 3.14 something something something. So it's actually a pretty good application to test out. It's actually a pretty good one. Oh, the other one that's actually also good as well. Look at the cluster status. Right now, things are kind of quiet. But I want to get to this point right here. I want to get to this point right here. So right now, it's still configuring and setting things up. It's still being created. There are no tags. All right, so that's that. I'm going to come back to that one. Definitely need to come back to that one to make sure that the code is, one, make sure the code is running, and then two, make sure that the code generates what it's supposed to generate. So the other one I do, or another good one. Let's see, so I already did it, where I did S3. SNS would be a good one as well. Step functions. This one actually be a good one as well. So let me try another one. So while this one's running, right? So I'll leave this here. I'm going to stop it after, make sure I set a reminder to, all right, so now the status has changed to pending. Let's take another look here. Let's take another look here at the hardware. All right, this is actually very good. So it's running. Right? So I have 2 machines running at 19 cents. So this is where you're seeing the cost. So 19 cents, so that means 38 cents an hour, right? Which is not bad. So current status is running. And it's going to run. Take a look here. It's going to depend. But this was EMR. I wonder if it says how long it takes to run for, on average. And we can actually do this. I'm going to do this as well. Okay, actually, no, I don't want to do that. So I'm actually trying to get a sense of how long it takes to run this. So I did this one. All right, so it should terminate on its own. All right, so now it's done. So that was, so we calculated pi to 1, 2, 3, 5 significant figures. So what did it do? So I ran a demo in CMR. What did it do? Well, it has to find your credentials because it needs your credentials for you to log in and for you to actually use resources. It uses a bucket. The bucket is used to store the Pi script, right, as we can see here. Let's look at, create a few roles. Take a look at the code for Python code. I won't delete it quite yet. Let's take a look at this example. So I'm curious. So it's a PySpark estimation. So I want to see, it's going to try and calculate pi. Oops. Hmm. So I tried 30,000, I think, random numbers on a cluster. So even if you don't understand everything that I'm talking about, because it does get a little bit complicated, the whole point of what I'm saying is that you have a you want to calculate a number. So this is very good, not just mathematics, but it's just good for a process that you need where you need to have a lot of different steps and then come together and bring them down to an answer. So it's like the map reduce side of it. So this is going to try and calculate pi. So parallel map reduce. All right. All right. So that's basically it. I'm gonna delete that, but it's a good example to run. You just have to know the right region. So I said yes. I want to delete the security groups, the bucket. So the costs are going to be the the bucket. The group's not as much. So let me check this. So this should be start terminating. All right, job flow terminated. And the hardware should be good. All right, so now that means this goes down to zero, this goes down to zero. And so probably the most that we'll spend on this, it run for like an hour, is probably less than 38 cents, which is okay. All right, so I'm going to pause here for a second and I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. And after these messages, right back. So this terminated. The other side of it is that took about 11 minutes. Let's take a look. Yeah, that's gone. That anymore. Yeah, what else? Could look at here. So the cluster's gone. It's terminated. Took about 11 minutes. Interesting. So this is yeah, this is actually interesting. Hmm. That's actually pretty cool. So yeah, that's what I wanted to show. So this is MapReduce. I just wanted to show a basic example of using the service. Um, Same pattern that we've used before. It's actually a good skill to learn, good skill to know. So I just want to show that as part of this final session. That is it. All right, thank you.